Joy. Big up to everyone. Hope everyone's having a wonderful start to their Monday, beginning the week and all of that. And today I'm pleased to be joined by the African Gooner. Big up to you, my friend. Thank you very much for jumping on. How's your Monday been going? I know there's a bit of time difference where you are, my friend, but how's your day started off, bro?
Bro, it's been good. Transfer window is back open, so plenty of rumors and frenzy going around. Monday's going good. Arsenal's back in preseason in 2 weeks, so that's what I'm looking forward to, and hopefully we see some bids coming in this week.
Yeah, I mean and that's sort of where I wanted to start as well. So you've segued me rather quite nicely there, my friend. And it's obviously we had a little chat, didn't we, on Friday with Deluda Gooner, and we sort of set a mini timescale between us about the end of June.
Yeah,
Of course, in the last sort of few sort of days, we haven't really sort of seen much updates, or if sort of any. Um, I believe it's whilst only the 16th. I totally get that. I believe it's still been a poor start to the window. I'm also sort of factoring in other windows, like say last summer. We made a £10 million profit. That's all well and good. If we'd have got the players that we'd have got in, all well and
yeah,
good. Also, I'm factoring in the January transfer window. Now we didn't do anything in the January transfer window, and whilst I was frustrated as well with that, I could sort of appreciate at least that if we were going to start the summer window
yeah,
properly, I'll go, okay, do you know what? That's fine. If you are genuinely building towards something for the summer, maybe write this January transfer window. As painful as that is, and that sounds, I'm accepting that. But I'm looking here, and we're over halfway through June, and whilst I do appreciate we are only halfway through June, when I'm seeing what Liverpool are doing, and I think it's quite easy to combat that with other teams aren't as busy as well. But when I'm seeing who I believe we should be competing with for the title, we don't need to decipher who them names are. They're
yeah,
Manchester City and they're Liverpool. I think we can all agree on that.
yeah.
I believe that they should be our main competition. And my friend, when I'm sort of looking at the business they're doing, they're getting replacements in for obviously the outbound Trent Alexander-Arnold with Frimpong. It's a fantastic signing in my mind. They've got Kirkes in, they've got Wirtz in, nearly through the door. I believe there'll be other signings. Manchester City got Livramento knocking on the door. Nori. They also spent a
Turkey.
lot of money in January. Exactly right. Cherky, Reinders.
And
I
I
think,
wanted Turkey, by the way. I wanted
yeah,
Turkey in January because they were trying to push him out, and it was 30 million. And to be honest, I won't lie. I don't watch him enough, but started paying attention to who he was. I started watching him, and I was like, whoa, this is exactly what we need. And 30 million, like, just take the risk, just go for it. No one's in for him, and we didn't do anything. And now he
yeah.
goes to Man City, which just proves that he's good enough, right? And people were saying, oh, he has an attitude issue. Oh, this, that, but like excuses, right? Pretty much. And yeah, I mean, Arteta pretty much rates Odegaard. Nwaneri can maybe play in that position. Dahlman's going to be promoted. I still don't think we should be relying on the two youngsters, and I think people probably think Dahlman's going to play a lot next season, which is not going to be the case. He'll play League Cup, he'll play some FA Cup, and maybe he'll get 1 or 2 games, 3 games in the Premier League. But it's not like he's going to just come in like the way Miles Lewis-Skelly is, right? We have to remember that he's still very young, he's still small, like he needs to still put on some muscle mass and stuff. But in terms of, Aaron, your perspective on the transfer window. So this is probably like my 30th transfer window. And, as the Arsenal fan, when you've gone through 30 transfer windows or more, right? I've seen the pattern, right? I would agree with you. We've been terrible, historically in the transfer window every single time. I think for me as an Arsenal fan, the only time that I was really impressed with our window was the Havertz, Declan Rice, Timber window. And that really gave them credit in the bank for me. Last summer, I was really hopeful because of what they had done previously, that we had changed our ways, and I didn't really want to get onto the club because I said, hey, you know what? The previous season you did the business, even though Kai wasn't the guy that I wanted. They spent a lot of money and it was good signings, and we were just in a good place overall. So I gave them trust. And then, we signed Sterling and Marino at the end. Marino, who, look, is a good squad player, but I think Arsenal fans are very harsh on him because we needed someone else. It's not that he's a bad player; he's a good player, and for the money we spent, he's decent. But he's a squad player, and we needed a starter. We still waiting for that upgrade on Granit Xhaka, who was not one of my favorite players at all, to be honest. I only think he
Yeah.
had one good season at Arsenal, and he caused me a lot of pain and anguish that I have a very different relationship with him. When someone punishes you and repeats the same mistakes and costs your team every single time the same way, I'm sorry, I can't forgive that, right? And that's my opinion on Jota. But in terms of the rest of the stuff, and we made, as we spoke about on DG's channel, we got rid of 4 attackers, right? We got rid of Smith Rowe, we got rid of Nelson, we got rid of Fabio Vieira, and we got rid of Nketiah, and then we brought in Raheem Sterling. Now, look, I hear you, and you're right. Sometimes we make mistakes. So we left it late, and when January came around, as we said, and we were still in 4 competitions, we had money because we didn't spend, and we made a profit in the summer. I was looking to the club as saying, hey, let's, the previous January, we didn't do anything and we ended up with nothing. Let's learn from our mistakes from not only last January, but also from the summer where we didn't do what we needed to do and fix it. Go sign someone, bring back Vieira, do something, loan someone, right? And in my opinion, Arteta came out saying that he wanted a striker, blah, 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 blah. And I don't really think that was true. I think that was all PR. Because actions speak louder than words for me. That's something that my father has taught me in life, not only in football, in any facet of life. Like, people like to talk a lot, people say a lot, but the actions for everything. And when Arteta went and signed, Mikel Merino and Calafiori, like a left back as your first signing, that is a sign of intent. Again, I gave kind of benefit of the doubt to say, hey, at the end of the window, if you still get what we need, I won't say anything. But if you buy a left back at the beginning of the window for 40 million and you don't get a striker and a backup winger, then I'm sorry, my friend, like I can't be back. You know what I mean? I can't protect you. I can't stand up for you. So, January was dismal. He's stubborn. He wants the players that he wants. And we've come full circle. And I totally agree with you, Aaron. You're right. Okay, we didn't sign anyone in January. So now fans are saying, okay, whatever. We threw in the towel. It's done. The season is over. That's at least how I saw it, right? Even though we made the semifinal and stuff, I knew this was how it was going to play out because we didn't address the problems that we had.
Yeah.
Now you're saying, okay, well then in the first 2 weeks, you should have signed someone, which, yeah, you're right. We should have. But then the club is saying, hey, we got to wait till July to register new players into the books. So then
do we know that that's fact though? That like, I get that maybe I don't know that isn't fact. But I also would also flip that and say that you don't know that as fact.
So reporters and it is. I would say it is factual because it's been reported, and I don't think it's just Arsenal. I think majority of clubs, it's just the way it is. It's not just Arsenal.
Except our rivals, though. That's the frustrating thing, my friend.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like, why is it not the same rules for Manchester City? I know it's a different club running differently, but it's frustrating, bro.
Yeah, I know.
And I'll add all of this up, and I'll say why. Like, I can't 100% disprove the July thing, right? But what I will say is, in the last 2 years, Arsenal have renewed Fly Emirates deal substantially, Adidas deal substantially. The Sober Realty training ground, that's a big deal. They pummel out more merch than anything. They've also got off the PSR and FFP rule books. They've also got the Europa League seasons and the no European seasons. They've also done various other deals. The merch, like I said, they're pummeling out. It's unbelievable. They made a £10 million profit last summer. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, why do we need to wait till July? Or, do you know what I mean? Just be a little bit more transparent. And in the window, it's just frustrating that we made. I don't care if the club make profit, right? I'll add to this. If the club make profit, fantastic. I just want to see that money invested. And not only do I want to see it invested, I want to see it invested well. Now, I know that's easier said than done. I do. And I appreciate there isn't a manager in history that has made 10 signings, 4 signings, 20 signings, and all of them have been fantastic. That just don't exist. You will naturally make some good signings, make some bad signings. Some signings you think were good signings might turn out to be bad signings. Some signings and vice versa, blah, 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 blah. But when I'm seeing Arsenal last summer and we were 2 points off of Manchester City, and I think what a pivotal window this is. What a pivotal window. And not only do we make money, but like you quite rightly said, we make squad signings. We make a left back. And that's fine. No one would be saying anything about the Calafiori signing if he came in and done what Miles Lewis-Skelly done.
Yeah.
No one would be saying anything because he's come in and he's done well. No one would care how much money he's on. No one would care how much the transfer fee is. No one would care about how old he is because he came in and done the business. And he spent half the season injured and half of the season out of form. For me, he had a couple of good games, a couple of good moments, but not enough what we expected. Now, also, I do appreciate with the Calafiori signing, more than the Merino one, that he is young. He is adjusting to a new league. I do totally appreciate that. What Arsenal needed is to not have a signing that might take a year or two to bed in we really needed a Calafiori to come in and hit the ground running. And with the Mikel Merino signing, you said, it's an okay signing, but did it move the needle? And I sit there and I just think to myself, in a summer where you desperately needed a striker, we need exactly what we need now last summer. So we haven't moved
and the
on
summer
for the rest
before,
of
and
the
the
year.
summer before, and the summer before, and since Aubameyang left, pretty much.
Exactly. And you made a good point as well. And I always actually say this. We either don't learn our lesson or it takes us too long to learn it. And I made this point as well on DGs, even with the Bill Saliba. Now, do I think the right-sided centre-back is a position of priority? No, I absolutely don't.
I agree.
However, why is when Bill Saliba got injured at that Sporting Lisbon game in the Europa League, and it basically derailed our entire season. Now, we can't say for a fact that it was solely that, but it bloody contributed, didn't it? It bloody contributed, and it just did. The parallels in between our poor form and him getting injured and conceding goals and
Haaland
losing
bullied
games across the
Holding,
league.
and we lost the 2 games, and that was it, right?
Come on, exactly. Why have we still not signed a right-sided centre-back?
You know why? Because we have enough players there, Aaron. That's why. We have Timber
but
who
who
can play
though?
there. We have Ben White who can play there. We have Saliba who can play there.
Don't say Tomiyasu. Don't
I'm
say
not.
Tomiyasu.
But you know, I've already named you kind of 3 players, and we know that we kind of want 2 players in every position, right? Like that's kind of the standard that we're going for. So I kind of see it.
Yeah.
Then why go get a left back when you have so many other ones as well? So the club, they don't leave that. They leave themselves open to these shots, right? Like I'm defending, but at the same time, I'm like, well, but we still have so many left backs. So I'm countering my own point of what I'm, suggesting as the logic behind why they haven't chosen to get a player. They got Kiwior for Gabriel. So, I agree. If it had to be a defender, I don't think it should have been a left back. Maybe it should have been someone that could have played on the right center back.
Yeah. And I will just very, very quickly counter one of the other points that you made as well. Big up to everyone in the chat as well. Don't forget to smash the likes and be kind to our African Gooner, man. That's what it's all about.
I saw someone talk about Lee Gunner cooking me. I mean, that never happened, to be honest. It's just ironic.
I don't know, but you know what I mean. We want to be respectful for the guests.
Absolutely,
That's just facts. But yeah, just sort of going back to where was he at? I sort of side. Oh yeah, that's it. The Ben White thing. Now, okay, I do totally appreciate that Arsenal have a versatile squad, a buzzword we like to call it. Yeah, a bit of a buzzword, versatile squad, and that's absolutely fine. Yeah, I do appreciate that we actually signed Ben White as a right-sided centre back. It didn't quite happen. Saliba came back in. He was just better. He nudged him out to right back, and it bloody worked. He is a good right back. Unfortunately, he got himself an injury, but he was played through surgery, which I don't agree with, and people think they missed a lot more of the season than he actually did. However, and I'll slightly sidetrack myself here, I'm a little bit worried about possibly niggling repeated injuries for Ben White, but that's not the point I wanted to make. What I did want to make is I do totally appreciate the versatile sortness of some of the players. I do get that, but only as an emergency for Ben White. I believe that the right side of the centre backs, the right backs, is actually our strongest point across the whole squad because we've got 2 very, very, very competent right backs there. And I don't believe that we can say that about any other position in the squad. Ben White and Timber would probably start for most Premier League clubs.
You know what's funny, Aaron?
Say. Just quickly, let me land this for 1 sec. What my problem is with the versatile thing is when you flip that, my friend, and Ben White gets injured, you've got no cover for right back, and you've got no cover for right-sided centre back. Tomiyasu is nowhere to be seen, and he hasn't been done. And why the club almost give him a 45% pay rise on the back of 6 minutes of football is also beyond me. So then I'm looking there and thinking, all right, so you got Tomiyasu, who's the biggest sick note the club's ever signed. Ben White, I hope he doesn't get the niggling injuries, but we've seen him perform better at right back and right-sided centre back. Why can we not just as a football club just go, Tomiyasu, go, just go away, please. Ben White, you and Timber are just going to compete for that right back, and whoever's the least best performing, you're on the bench and you're back up, and we just move Calafiori inside and have him as backup to Gabriel Magalhaes in his natural position. I don't believe he's a left back. And then just buy a right-sided centre-back like a Gay, I believe could be a good market opportunity. I also actually see as well Emerick Laporte. Do you remember he used to play for Manchester City?
Man City?
He wants to leave. He wants to leave Al Hilal, I believe he might be with. I
Yeah,
think if he's available on a cheap, I reckon that's a fantastic little
that
competition.
would be
That right side of
experience,
centre
been in
back,
the league.
experience, age, been in the league, exactly right. I think depending on if he wants to terrorise us with wages or not, I think that'd be a good signing. And one of this as well for that left back, and it's frustrating. I'm going to bring this up, but we've seen him linked with this geezer,
Yeah.
Jarrell Hato. Like, I don't know what your sort of thoughts are on the player, on whether we,
Yeah.
again, I know you said about left backs, and I do agree with you, man, not on bloody another left back, but if we're going to move Calafiori inside with that, do you not think maybe this guy, depending on the price, would be a good move for Arsenal Football Club?
I'm still holding on some other points, so let me address those
Yeah,
first.
man.
The
Yeah,
first
yeah, you
one,
crack
the,
on.
the first one is Jurriën Timber actually started as a left back for us. If we remember correctly, in preseason, he started as
Yeah,
a left back, and everyone thought he was going to play, and no one knew where he was going to play. And then eventually, he ended up taking the right back position. So that's another left back that I forgot off the list of the four that I was giving you. So in terms of Tomiyasu, I hear you, bro. I think look, one of his parents died, right? He's going through mental health issues plus a huge injury like that. Arsenal's always been that club, with Rob Holding, with El Neni, with Carl Jenkinson, all these pros. I know for some reason we have sentiments for them and we keep them longer than we should. And I think that's exactly
yeah,
what's happening with Tomiyasu. I mean, it would be really bad and look bad on us if we were to kick him out in the situation that he's in. And see, a lot of Arsenal fans don't know these minor details. They just say, oh, he's injured, he hasn't played, get rid of him. Like, at the end of the day, he's a human as well, and we're a club. And we're, in some ways we want to act accordingly. And some people might not like that, but I mean, that is how I see that situation. I agree he needs to be moved on. And I do know that the club probably will move him on in January. And in terms of Hato, we've been linked with Hato for over like
yeah.
2 years, I think, to be honest. Again, it's very, very obvious that Arteta wants to get another defender. Probably because Zinchenko is on his way out, and also there's rumors that Kiwior might be on his way out. So if AC Milan buy both of those players, 100% I can see this happening. We've been in for him for a long time.
Yeah.
Chelsea have been the forefront, and they are the front runners right now. But they told Ajax that they want to pause. They basically paused on the negotiations, and they want to come back to it at the end of the Club World Cup. And Arsenal has taken that as an opportunity to kind of advance the deal, at least from what I understand. And as Graham Bailey says, like, the race is open. I think it'll be something that develops over 2-3 weeks. And I think that if we can get it done, we probably will pull the trigger. Again, it's because it's someone that we've been wanting for so long, 2 years. Again, Arteta is very stubborn. He always, and we've obviously analyzed this guy and he contributes a lot. He will be able to, if we sign this guy, we'll be able to push Lewis Skelly up into midfield. So that might be the thinking that Arteta has, is that, look, Lewis Skelly is great at left back, but imagine what he can do for us and his running power and the way he breaks through, right? No one else can do that in our team. We don't have someone that can just dribble or like break out, apart from Rice, but Rice has running power. It's very different. Lewis Skelly is way more physically imposing and uses his body differently, and it's a bit different for me, in my opinion.
Do you know what? Yeah, that's sort of why I put this in sort of first, because obviously I wanted to talk about the positions and things like that, and signings we need to make and priorities as well. I don't believe a left back should be priority. However, if this is a deal that takes no negotiation power outside of the strikers, it can be done relatively quickly and for a good price. I'm sort of all for getting these in. Would you sort of agree with me in that this signing, say a Hato, and you're right, Arsenal have been tracking him for a while. He's young. He's got potential. He can play in that position. That also, I believe, like you said as well, my friend, locks out that left 8 position. I think we kill 2 birds with 1 stone with this particular
I
signing.
think so
And
too.
we sort of don't know 100% if he's going to come in and hit the ground running. If he can come in, and I know he's a little bit younger, but if he can come in and sort of do what Timber was doing there, or at least be good enough across a really stable back line, because also it is stable. Saliba, Gabriel, and Timber, there ain't much better around. That's the front. And if he can sort of come in and put in, whilst he's learning it, there's still the trade technically because he's young, Hato, while he's learning a new league, while he's learning a new team, a new system, etc. If he can come in and steady the ship and push Miles Lewis Skelly onto that Granit Xhaka position that you quite rightly said we haven't really been able to muster. I'm sitting here and thinking, if we can get this geezer, and I don't know what he goes for, it's probably knocking in the between 20, 30s, 40s.
No, it's more. It's actually more.
Oh,
They're
right.
looking,
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah, they're looking for around 40 to 45 million euros.
Oh yeah,
So
so
he's expensive,
38,
and
40.
everyone and Ajax know everyone wants him, right? So they're not gonna. It's gonna, yeah. He's a prized asset for sure. He's gonna go for a lot of money. That's my only hesitance is like 40 million on another defender. Oof. And you said it's not a priority. And sorry, I also wanted to mention that we are able to change
Yep.
our formation and play 3 at the back if we have him, because then you have Saliba right center back, and you have Gabriel in the middle, and then you have him left center back. And so in game, when we're chasing something, we need to be more attacking. We can also change our formation with this guy.
Yeah. Like I said, I think it makes sense for Arsenal Football Club. It's obviously like help fund him. You know, there are going to be sales in that particular area. We've unfortunately let Kieran Tierney go. I think it's a madness, and I think Bert will be a little bit pissed off as well. To be fair, because Kieran Tierney screams Berta, doesn't he?
So
I mean, that is just a
yeah,
Berta signing, man.
I just want to address
Go on, mate.
something in the comments about Tomiyasu saying, if you're always injured, don't play. Why are you feeling bad for him? Just get rid. I mean, if you're injured and you can't sell a player that's injured, who's going to buy a player that's injured and not playing? Like, you also have to use common sense. Like, come on, guys.
I think with the Tomiyasu thing, I think it's just a bit of frustration, to be fair, in it,
Absolutely,
because
but we have to be logical. You can't sell a player that is not able to play. Who's going to buy the guy who can't even play? He hasn't even trained. Like, it's not happening anytime soon, guys. It's
would
gonna
you
take
rip his
January.
contract up and just move on?
I mean, that's ruthless. I probably would, and I wouldn't be upset if the club do. But you know that they won't. We've never done. I mean, I don't remember any
Well,
time
you
we've
can't
done it.
say we've never done that. You
We've
can't say
done
we've
it
never
maybe
done
once
that.
or twice. How many
What,
times?
ripping the contracts up? We've ripped up contracts of our old defence, pretty much. Our
I mean,
whole
we've done it to
Kolasinac,
what?
we ripped up
Aubameyang,
Mustafi, we
Ozil.
ripped up Socrates, Bellerin, we're left for nothing.
Yeah. Okay. So 2-3 players. Yeah. Sure. Fair.
Well, that's the whole back line, really, to be fair.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right.
Like,
We did rip up those contracts.
yeah,
So I don't see it happening personally, but it would be a good option and probably the right thing to do, to be honest.
it's just the sort of, and I feel the same way. Maybe only ever so slightly less, and we'll obviously get into that a little bit more. The forward line with Gabriel Jesus. Now he's not going to be back, and I use this as a sort of point. He's not going to be back himself until I think November. He's not going to be match fit until at least December, which
Yes.
obviously it brings us nicely to that January transfer window for him. If we can't sell him, and he'll have 18 months left on his deal at that stage, by the way, 265K a week deal, can I just add? I reckon if we can't sell him come February the 1st, I mean, we're in sort of trouble with this geezer. When do you sort of cut ties again with him? I mean, ideally, like, I know it's easier said than done, these signings, and I want to get your point on this while we're actually talking about that forward line. Whoever we get him, we'll come into Gyökeres and we'll come into Sesko
Yeah.
shortly. But I've always said this, and I've said this live a few times. I'd love to get Jonathan David in as that backup, and then just for free, and then just start a sort of new. I know we won't be able to get. I don't think we'll be able to sell Havertz anytime soon. I'm not going to lie. That might be a trickier and easier said than done, especially with Mikel here. He loves him.
He loves him.
But if we do get him one of them two strikers that we're going in for, hopefully Gyökeres, and then we have a Jonathan David in, and we just cancel the contract of Gabriel Jesus, I'm looking at a forward line that's reinvigorated. We're starting from new. And if Jonathan David don't bang, sell him for 20-30 million in the summer. That the next one, I think it's a no-brainer for me, something like that. But Arsenal Football Club just never seem to make them sensible signings, mate.
Yeah, we're just not creative enough. That's one of my frustrations about Arteta is that, look, people say, oh, the club didn't back him, but in January they bid 40 million for Watkins. So clearly there was 40 million to spend with. So now if you're a manager and you know this 40 million, you figure out different ways to use that 40 million in whatever capacity that you want. You got to think outside the box. And that's some of my frustration. In terms of the Jesus stuff, you're right. Okay, comes back in November, December. Okay, well, what do we do with him? I think the only real thing is Turkey or back to Brazil in January. And I don't think that happens. I think Arteta feels some type of way with him, and we're like, okay, let's give him 6 months at least to see if he can prove himself or contribute to the team or whatever, right? Because it feels a bit harsh that he got injured so badly twice in a row, and then you just sell him off, right? Because he was really good at the beginning of his tenure. So I'm not sure what we're going to do there. I don't think we will try to sell him until the summer. And you're right, we're not going to make back our money on him. We're going to take another loss. Yeah, we've experienced that many times, almost with like 80% of our players. So look, in terms of the Jonathan David stuff, yeah, it's a no-brainer for me, right? I think his wages are a lot, probably agent fees. I think he got declined. I remember reading somewhere that he was supposed to move somewhere and his wages were very high, agent fees were very high, so they just said no. And the reason for that is because he knows he's on a free, so whatever money,
Yeah,
like, it's going into his pocket, really, right? So as kind of like a transfer fee, and that's why players do that. So I agree with you. I don't think Arteta or Arsenal rate him at all. But I think if you're smart, you get like a Sesko in him, and wow, that changes people's perspective. Even if you don't get a Rodrigo, then at least you got those two. Because I don't see us getting the Gyökeres and Sesko, as you said, Havertz is not going
yeah.
anywhere.
We
Let's
won't.
be real. Havertz is not going anywhere, and not only that, he's going to be playing a lot of games next season. He's going to be starting. He's one of our highest earners. Arteta loves him, and people just thinking that whoever's going to come in, if Sesko comes in, I don't think he's going to start every game. It'll take a while, and that's the whole point. We want these two to compete against each other, and whoever's better gets to play. It's not just because we bought Sesko that he deserves to play. No, that's not how it goes. In training, in match days, etc., Arteta is going to put them up against. That's healthy competition. That's exactly what we want. Yeah. We want them to compete, fight against each other, and fight for that starting spot. And whoever is the better man or the better player, hey, that's how it's going to go. At least that's how I would manage it as a coach, right? So
Yeah.
That's what I see in terms of the Havertz stuff not going anywhere.
I'm going to come into as well, obviously, with a striker thing, yeah, and this thing from Fabrizio Romano rather is I think it's about 2 days old now, but it's still relevant to the point I'm going to make here. So I'll put it up on screen. Oh, sorry, it was from David Onstein. I do apologise. I've done this last night as well. I think the first 3 paragraphs there are utter nonsense. I won't read it out and waste everyone's time, but I want to hyper focus on this last little bit, yeah, my friend. And this is. I'm the only Arsenal YouTuber I've seen that wants to focus in on these little bits because this is the frustration for me, yeah, my friend. I don't know if you've seen these tweets or not. You probably have.
Of course, I have. I tweeted this in a much shorter version.
Yeah, of course you have. Yeah. I thought you would have when I've remembered what you do. You can't really put a time scale on it, and this worries me a little bit. Instantaneously in the final paragraph, I'm sure Arsenal will want to make developments this week, maybe next week, or as soon as possible. A lot of work goes into this. So I'm sitting there and thinking, okay, cool. All I'm reading from this whole thing, and like I said, I don't want to go into the whole lot, is we're still weeks away.
Yeah.
We're still weeks away. And this is on making a choice of what striker. This isn't on what specific striker we're going to do. We're still weeks away from choosing, is what David Ornstein's saying. Now, I'm sorry, for me, the frustration then goes on, and you actually said something I agree with at the very start here. And you said, we've been waiting a long time for Aubameyang to be replaced. That was 2.5 years ago we sold him. And or rather not sold him. It was another El Rippo.
Yeah.
We waited a long time to replace him. And this summer, 2.5 years. 2.5 years is a long time.
It feels like more. Wow.
Last summer we needed a striker. We didn't do it. But then we were told in the winter, maybe we are not going to sign a striker here because the player that we want isn't available. Now, we also told that Arsenal have been in long-term contacts with Benjamin Sesko, which is fine. That's spanning maybe over a year because we was in for him last year. That's also fair to say. We was in for him last year. We passed up on it. He stayed with Leipzig and he said at least another year was apparent gentleman's agreement on the reports, blah, blah, blah. And then obviously the Gyökeres deal, we always sort of knew he was going to have last year, one more season maybe at Sporting before this season. He really became available, if you want to call it that. Why are we still weeks away from choosing what striker when we've actively not signed one in January? We could have had that whole entire time. And Berta joined in March, I believe. So let's just get it right. He's had a lot of time to sit there and identify and talk with targets. It happens. Why are we still weeks away from choosing one or two?
Yeah,
it's madness. And that's the worrying thing. So when me and you were having a chat on DGs and we were like, oh yeah, I'd give us until the end of June. And then it's going to be not panic stations, but it's like worrying a little bit for Arsenal Football Club. They're still weeks away from choosing which striker that they want, let alone putting a bid in for him and then negotiating a deal for him and getting him a medical and getting him through the door. All I read is, or how I feel about here is this is going to take weeks. This is going to drag on all summer. And I'm not going to lie. I didn't wait a year and then another 2 windows for it to just drag on all summer.
Absolutely.
Why is the Zubimendi deal it's frustrating? But let's just stop the Zubimendi. Let's keep it.
There's a couple of things. So there's a lot of stuff there. So the first thing is that Berta actually started in May officially, right? Even though we knew that around April, whatever, that he was going to be the one, he officially started in May. In terms of the Sesko Gyökeres stuff, okay, let's talk about it. So yes, we were in for Sesko last summer, and he wanted guaranteed game time. At least this is what was reported, and Arteta couldn't guarantee him that because Havertz was starting. And so he said, "Look, I'm going to stay at Leipzig for one more season, and then I'll move next season, right? I want to solidify myself. I have one more year of game time where I'm starting week in, week out, so I can improve my game, so I'm ready to make that move." That was Sesko's perspective last summer. And then January came, and we went back in for him because Leipzig are not doing well, etc. And we still needed a striker, that we had injuries, blah, 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 blah. And then he said, "Look, no, I'm still going to finish the season out at Leipzig. I don't want to move yet, and I'm ready to move in the summer." That is what's happening with Sesko. In terms of the Gyökeres stuff, we were never interested in Gyökeres. Let's be straight here. Last year, Gyökeres, as I mentioned to you on DG Stream, he was available. He had a crazy season. Everyone already knew who he was last summer, right? And he had an injury. He had to get knee surgery, and no one went in for him. And you might be right, Aaron, as you said, he said he's not going to move for another whole season, right? So no one really bothered. They said, okay, we'll wait another whole season. Now, when Andrea Berta came to Arsenal, he had previous relationships and contacts, and he had progressed the deal or progressed negotiations with the Gyökeres camp for Atletico Madrid. And so he came into Arsenal saying, "Hey, I've already done all this work. I know how good this player can be for them. He obviously can be good for any other European elite team, right?" Let's be clear on.
So why are we not choosing him then?
So
he's the sporting director, and he's been here since May.
So the sporting director who is known now to basically negotiate. So Andrea Berta is famous to negotiate with multiple targets for the same position until they're so close to getting over the line, right? That's what he does. And then he pulls the trigger on the one that he wants. So that's why you're seeing Arsenal being involved with Gyökeres and Sesko in advanced negotiations to the point where it feels like, oh, we can sign either of them. So one is, Aaron, remember we talked about we're waiting until July 1 for Zubamendi and any other deal to be officially announced so that we can put it into our books for next season so that we can spend more. I don't know the exact details. I'm not an accountant, but at least this is the logic that is being given to us is that, hey, in July, it resets everything on the books, and the whole summer window is going to be on this next one. Now, I hear your frustration. Definitely, we cannot wait the whole summer for this whole transfer saga. It needs to happen in the next 2-3 weeks. As we said, right, at the end of June, we at least need to see the first or second bid. Now, let's also not forget, Aaron, that we have to posture, right? We got to play it. It's like you have a job interview, right? And you get one job, but you still have another interview and you're still waiting for that offer, and they give you another offer. You're going to use both offers to try to get the best deal for yourself. Hey, job A, job B gave me this much salary, but you gave me less. Can you match that, or can you give me more so that I'm more inclined to join you, right? That is exactly what we are doing with Sesko and Gyökeres. And in my mind, Sesko is 100% the priority, and Gyökeres is just the smokescreen. We are using Gyökeres, and what we did is we agreed a 5-year contract with Gyökeres a couple of weeks ago. And I also believe now we've agreed personal terms with Sesko and also on a 5-year contract. And so we both of them agreed. And now we're just debating on the transfer fee. Gyökeres looks like a mess because him and his club are fighting and saying, oh, gentleman agreement. Someone left, the verbal agreement was with their sporting director or that left. Yeah. So, they're saying, okay, well, it doesn't stand anymore, right? And I think also they have a 10% clause that basically says that if a bid is above 60 something million and you decline it, you have to give us 10% of that. So that's caused a lot of problems. It's basically saying if you bid 60 million and you reject, you owe us 6 million. I don't know if it's Gyökeres who gets it or his agent who gets it. That's a bit unclear, but that's a messy situation there. And so I think we're using this all to leverage the negotiations with Sesko, who we know is our first priority, who also wants us, who fits our system, and in my opinion, is going to be the one that we bid for. Now, Aaron, my only concern is that if we waited all this time, and let's say we do bid for Sesko this week or next week, and if that bid is not good enough and it gets rejected, oh man, the fan base is going to lose it. And I understand that, right? Because how can you take all this time to submit a bid that ends up being rejected? But again, that's not how it works. Just we're stingy. We're going to try get closer and closer. First bid, second bid. Hopefully it's not one that drags out into 3 bids. You would expect that with all the work that we've done, we know exactly what they want, etc. We know what we need to offer, and we just do it one go, right? One bid gets accepted, gets done, and that's finished. If we go back and forth with bid gets rejected and stuff, fan base is going to be really upset, and then it's gonna be a detriment to Berta and Arteta and Arsenal's image.
The thing is as well is that like I hear what you're saying. They're almost putting efforts in, and like you said, the smoke. I do totally get that. If that's what they're doing. That is an angle that I can appreciate. Does happen in football. They're negotiating multiple deals, like this is sort of saying as well. And you know, if it's almost like a fail safe as well. If one works, you know, you've got something to fall back on. However, we didn't see Liverpool going in for another central attacking midfielder. They went, right, we want Florian Wirtz and we will fucking get him. Do you know what I mean? And we
Yeah,
will get him. And they got their geezer. And the same with Manchester City. They were unrivaled in some of their signings. And I
yeah,
don't really want to keep it to Manchester City, but
yeah,
we've spoke about it before, haven't we?
yeah,
Why on earth were we letting them have a free
yeah.
run at Ryan Check,
And
etc.? That's not my
Even
point.
Marmoush,
Yeah,
like
even
he could
even
have played, he
even
could have made us better in January. I mean, he
even
was,
Marmoush. But mate, the thing is they want players and they've gone out and got them. Arsenal Football Club, we're going, oh well, you know, we're in this negotiations here with Benjamin Sesko, we're here with Victor Gyökeres. Who do you want, Andrea Burt? Because you're the director of football. Who do you want? That's what you've been paid
yeah,
to do, right? And like you
yeah,
said, he started officially in May. So whether that be May the 1st or whatever, I don't know. We'll just
whatever. Yeah,
assume May the 1st. We've been here for 6 weeks now. You're
yeah,
not a silly boy. And like you said, he's done actually his due diligence and has track record with the
yeah.
player at Atletico Madrid. So he's got a lot of homework on Victor Gyökeres. If that's the guy that you want, why are
It's not
we
his
not going,
choice.
we want Victor Gyökeres then? I
It's
get what
not
you're
his
saying about
choice.
this smoke screen or not, but it doesn't matter. If Arsenal pay the money like a big club, like Liverpool's done with Turkey, like Manchester City's done with all of their signings, what they did with Marmoush and all the other signings
Yeah,
they made in the winter and now, why are Arsenal Football Club just not going,
we
okay,
can't.
bang, there's the money, here's do the medical, and on the 1st of July, we will confirm the deal.
Yeah,
Why is that still weeks away? I don't understand. I appreciate then, and I'll counter your argument with, oh, that's all well and good if we cannot confirm it to go on the books. But why are we not agreeing these deals? Why have
yeah,
we not agreed a fee for a Sesko? Why have we not agreed a fee for a Victor Gyökeres?
yeah.
Why are we not adding medicals in? Why are we not doing this and then going, all right, sweet, 59-00, bang, there you go, it's on our accounts and he's ours. We're
I
just a million miles away from all of it, man.
Yeah, so a couple of points. I think the first one is we shouldn't compare ourselves to Man City because we will never be able to compete with them financially in the way they buy things. And I hear you, by the way. That's the way I want my club to
But
be.
but
That
but but these
go just buy
signings
the
aren't
players that you
costing
want.
150 million, and no one's
But
rivaling them for us.
Verts really wanted them as well. You see, we're not seeing Sesko like
Gyökeres really wants us, if you believe the
yeah,
reports, though. And it's
yeah,
not
but
100 million, is it? It's
no,
60, 65.
it's
His
it's
wages are going to be
80,
at
it's 80
least
million
on Kai
euros.
Havertz.
It's 80
Like,
million euros. It's around 60 something million pounds. I hear you. It's not 100 million like Rice. But look, we wanted Rice and we got him. And again, I don't want to make excuses for the club. Aaron, I completely agree with you. When I see Man City and Real Madrid and Man U announce transfers that they've agreed outside of a transfer window, I always look to us and say, why have we never done that? So I hear your frustrations as well. Like, you're totally right. Why not agree a deal? And yeah, okay, if the books and whatever, you have to wait till. But we don't move like that. The reason why, I
but
don't
why
know.
do we
I
not
can't
move
answer.
like that?
Yeah, I know, I know.
And so whose fault is that? And because I'm
That has
sitting
to
there and
go. That
thinking
has to go to the owners or Berta or
it's up
owners.
top,
Yeah,
and it's not good enough. Like for Arsenal Football Club, we've been in this process now. This is going to be Mikel Arteta's sixth full season, his seventh technical season. Arsenal Football Club. We've signed Bert to come in and make these changes, and so far I'm not seeing any changes. Like I'm not seeing really anything. We don't know that for 100% fact what's going on beyond the scenes, but we do know that our rivals. Liverpool were ahead of us last year. They just were. They were better, and they have improved significantly in the areas that they needed to. They've replaced quite effectively in their right back. And like I said earlier, they've
yeah,
replaced
Frimpong.
their goalkeeper now sorted. They've improved their left back and they've improved their 10. They are a striker away, and
And
the
we're gonna
correct
get him.
striker. Easier said than done. They are a striker away from probably being a quite dominant force in the Premier League. Now we're already behind them. Okay,
Yeah,
we're already behind them. Manchester City found themselves caught out as Pep Guardiola since the 16-17 season that he came in when he didn't win anything. And it was the same last year. They didn't win anything for the first time in all of them years, 8-9 years, or whatever that is off the top of my head, there or thereabouts. They spent 200 million in the winter, and they're spending money now, and they're making good signings. They are making good signings. They're not just signing random him and random him and random him. They are making some really good sort of signings in the crucial positions that they need. So if Manchester City dropped off the pace and we're only just still sort of wrestling here with them. And Liverpool are ahead of us anyway, and they are improving fivefold, sixfold, sevenfold. And we're sat there and going, well, we'll just wait till July. Like, we are being left behind in this window, regardless of whether it's the 16th of June, 16th of July, 16th of August. As it stands, Arsenal Football Club are being left behind by their rivals.
Absolutely.
And that's worrying for me. Why
Yeah, it
are
is.
we still so indecisive on what strike? We ain't signed a striker really since Aubameyang and Lacazette. And that's not Arteta's fault because he weren't there. That's not Arteta's fault, but he had them strikers. And then he's had a plenty of opportunities over the last 5.5 years to sign strikers. He just has. And we haven't done anything. And now we're sort of coming in, Bert's coming in, and it's now, well, they're just, they don't really know what striker they want, and it's going to take weeks. Well, we ain't got weeks, man. How
Yeah.
much of this is going to be dragged on? And the thing is, as well, and it's a good point that I'm going to make here. The longer this drags on, what happens to the transfer fee and the wages? They go up that way because Arsenal become more desperate. So the Sesko fee, you said, oh, last summer, and I do agree. Yep, he weren't really here. He weren't really coming. He wanted to stay for an extra year. What did Arsenal Football Club think last year? If he was crap and had a really, really bad season, and he had an average one, it wasn't a great one. If he had a really horrendous season and scored 2 or 3 goals, Arsenal Football Club ain't coming in for him. If he has a great season and Arsenal Football Club going, yep, that's our striker, his value doubles. His wages treble. I don't know what Arsenal Football Club thinks. So they've almost, and he had an average season, by the way, but his fee for being 21 is still astronomically high for me. 70 million on quid. It's not worth that. It's as simple as that. He just ain't. But Arsenal again have handcuffed themselves. Why couldn't we have signed him last summer and loaned him back out if he was our guy? Now we've got Gyökeres coming in, and we're just like, well, we don't really know what we want to do. That is, to me, screams not due diligence in terms of, oh yeah, we'll make our books look better. It makes it look like we're incompetent yet again. And I thought that's what we brought this guy in for. Like,
yeah, it hasn't been enough time to really judge. And also, Aaron, part of me is like, why? Like, I don't want to get myself upset and throw tantrums over this, when I know that there's not much that we can do, right? And also, this has to be Arteta's last season. He's made too many mistakes. We're trying to cover all those mistakes, but he's also done good things, right? And that's what people just look at one side of the coin and say, hey, look, we didn't win the trophy. Arteta's crap. He hasn't done anything. And yeah, it's been disappointing and we haven't crossed the line, but he's also done some good things. So, for me, I don't want to throw a tantrum and just, shout and yell when I know that whatever he does, this is it. Like, do what you want. You know what I mean? Like, do what you want. Get the players that you think is going to, and you don't have any excuses. That's how I see it. And I hear you, Aaron. I like, look, by the end of the summer, if we end up doing all the business, I don't think any of this is going to matter. I think in real time, this is how it feels. Like, as fans, we want stuff to be done immediately. And all the things you raised are valid points. Like, you're right. Why can't we be creative? Why couldn't we have bought Sesko and then loaned him back? I just don't see Arsenal ever doing that. Like, it's not something that we do. And I don't know why we don't do it. But you're right. With someone like Berta now coming in, we should be seeing different types of deals. And in my opinion, the fact that we're negotiating for 2 top players simultaneously and different targets, that's already a sign that things have changed the way we approach things, right? So,
yeah,
like, we have to look at all sides. It's not always just negative. Like, I know a lot of Arsenal fans are impatient. We're impatient, and rightfully so, and we're scarred and we're bruised. But at the same time, like, it's only been 2 weeks. The official window just opened today, the main window. So let's give it a week. Let's see if we bid for someone. Again, as we said, in 2 weeks, if we haven't, and we come back and we speak and we haven't, then we're having different conversations.
what I will say on that though, my friend, and I hear you, but if this would have been Mikel Arteta's second or third summer window, I reckon you'd be getting a lot more patience from, say, my side of the fence. I do. But the very fact that this is his 6th summer window, probably about his 11th or 12th, there or thereabouts transfer window. I think I'm there or thereabouts right on it, give or take a window. We've seen a lot of this. If this was a new manager came in last summer, we'd be going, do you know what? Yeah, he needs time to rebuild this squad. But the reason why we're a little bit frustrated is because we're not just taking this season in this summer window in isolation. We are taking all the other summer windows in isolation since this manager has been here, and they've all not been good enough. And we're not sort of going, oh yeah, now it's crap, it's 16th. we're going this because last summer on the 16th of June, we didn't do anything. Last summer at the 16th of July, we didn't do anything. The summer before, we didn't do anything. You know, we were in talks that the Rice thing was a complicated deal. It was always going to drag on a little bit and all of that. The Havertz deal came out. That was the first deal to come out. I mean, what a waste of dough that was. The year before, we've got a history of this setup, this regime, this manager, this whatever you want to call it, being really, really, really poor in terms of negotiating, starting fast. The only summer that they did sign two players we thought was going to turn the needle, and they got them in early before pre-season, was Zinchenko and Jesus, and they both actually started really good.
Yeah.
Like, we can't actually all deny this as Arsenal fans. We've outgrown them massively, and we outgrew them quite quickly. Which I suppose in one aspect you can look at it and go, fair enough. That must mean we're doing a little bit better to outgrow them quickly. I'd then also combat my own point by saying, why have we taken 3 years to replace them?
Yeah.
However, that's not my original point. What I'm saying is when Zinchenko and Jesus got pre-season in, they started the season on fire. There are so many benefits to getting your business done. And that is, let's just say for argument's sake, fast forward this to July the 1st, yeah? And then we've got all the books things. There's no excuses about the books.
Yeah.
Arsenal start their pre-season then in 2 weeks' time after that. I think it's there or thereabouts 2 weeks' time.
3.
Then it's like, well, we still probably won't get a striker in. So then the striker don't get pre-season. But then the problem is as well, is when that starts going to August, clubs are going to go, Leipzig and Sporting, they're going to go, unless they haven't been nabbed by someone else.
Yeah.
They're going to go, okay, well, Arsenal are getting quite desperate. We're August now. We're end of July and August. Oh, Victor Gyökeres' fees just gone up. Oh, Benjamin Sesko's fees just added an extra 10 million. Benjamin Sesko and his agent are going to go, oh, yeah, do you remember back in June when we wanted 180 grand a week? Yeah, now we want 240. Arsenal do this. So there's so many pros to getting our business done first. And we've got 5.5 years of experience, 11 or 12 windows to say to us, we've got right to feel a little bit peed off. No one's losing their heads yet, but we have listened to this record over and over and over again until it's scratched to bits. We've seen this DVD that's scratched to bits. It won't even get past the opening credits. And we've read this book. It is, you know, it's like a pirate scroll. It's orange. It's burnt to bits. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
X marks as well. We've seen this all before, and that's my point. And that's what's the frustrations from us. It's not just this window in isolation. You've got to take the whole thing.
Yeah.
And we've been like, we have been here before every year.
I sit where you sit. It's only people see me as like, people think I'm Arteta in, which I'm not. Like, it's just hilarious because people don't hear all your opinions. They just hear short little bits. People don't know.
I was going to ask you towards the end of it, but you've answered it obviously now.
Yeah. There's a lot of things. So again, Aaron, like, I sit where you sit. I hear those frustrations. I've also tampered myself as I became older, you know, because when you get scarred like this so many times, you just protect yourself, right? Like, I just protect my heart, and that's why I'm like, okay, like I reduce my expectations a little, knowing that history has shown me that this is how we do. Like you said, we never signed players before preseason, and then we always lost our first game of the season because we were never prepared. A lot of Arsenal fans don't talk about that. I'm just proving to you my knowledge of Arsenal by giving you that statement. So when we started to change that and we started to win our first games, right, when we started signing players earlier, and I think a lot of people forget that we've already made our first signing. We signed Martin Zubimendi for 50 million, which is a great signing. Again, but people are not talking about that because it's not officially done. But it's done. It's business that we have done already in the first 2 weeks. Yes, maybe it was, you know, done previously from January in the previous regime, but who cares? The point is we signed him in this summer transfer window for 50 million, and it's going to be, you know, done in 2 weeks. He'll be in preseason. The Kepa stuff, it's done. He's agreed with us. He's ready to move. It's all about us now going and paying the release clause for 5 million. There's not much we need to do. If we have an agreement with him and he's dead certain on us, right, we're just waiting to go and pay the release clause. And David Ornstein said that he doesn't know how long that's going to take. It could take a week. It could take 2 weeks. But again, that's on us to pull the trigger. I hear you again now. So my expectation is, okay, we're waiting until the new book's in July. And we better go pull that trigger on the release clause, because that's apparently what we're waiting for, right? And if we don't, then we come back and we have this conversation, okay, saying, hey, bro, what the hell is going on? Like, well, you can't pay a 5 million release clause. Like, then that's when my anger starts to build up. But I don't want to start building up my anger now, right? When we still have freaking 7, 8 weeks of a transfer window to go. And when we know, and I've been through this merry-go-round so many times, as you said, right? Like, everything happens at the end. So, like, yes, we want to learn from our mistakes, but also I find it childish and just a waste of energy to like scream and shout, as I said. when, like, I still want to wait a little bit. Let's wait until the first week of July. If nothing has been done, second week of July, fans are naturally going to start going after the club. They're going to start putting pressure. People online are going to get more nasty, blah, blah, blah. It's all natural. We've been here before. That's what I'm saying. Like, people are acting very childish, acting as if this is our first summer transfer window. We know all these things.
Childish is the wrong word to use, to be fair. I think, mate, are you saying that, say for argument's sake, if I'm shouting scream, would you say I'm behaving childish?
No, I think you've
got to zone in on that, because
you're thinking critically, because you're assessing both the positives and the negatives. But the people that just want to talk about the negatives, like, again, remember, I just shared with you, we have signed someone 50 million, but people are not talking about that. People are like, we haven't done anything, but we have done something, right? So we have to be balanced. Yes, we can criticize, yes, we can be upset, but we also have to look at the other side of the coin and say, hey, we actually have done something. It's not that we haven't done anything. Yes, should we have done more? Of course, absolutely. Yes, should we be ambitious? Yes. And let's hope to see that we do that. If we don't, then we can criticize the club. Then we can start getting on their back and hopefully try to push them to do something.
I think assuming that they are done, let's just say they are done, them two signings. What probably, and that's no fault of anyone else's, what takes the gloss off of them two signings is they're not the priority signings that we need. And that's all well and good. At the end of the window, if we do get the vast majority of what we need in, I suppose technically people could say it don't really matter what order they come in. However, I think what does naturally take the gloss off of a Zubamendi signing is we're thinking, that probably should be a left winger in the door, before that. And like, I'm sort of one of them people. I think, why have we not got a striker in the door? Why is the Zubamendi not a deal? And that's cool, well and good. If by mid-July we have got a striker in the door, Zubamendi in the door, and a Kepa Arrizabalaga, I'm not a massive fan of that. But whatever, it's 5 million for a backup keeper. It's frustrating. There's another Chelsea reject. But I'm very over that quickly, purely because it's not a starter. It's a backup, whatever, with the keeper signing. If we've got a striker in the door, say we got just for argument's sake, say we got Gyökeres in the door, Zubamendi's in the door, and Kepa's in the door, and it's halfway through July. I'm a little bit more calm now because I'm sitting there thinking, okay, we've got the striker that we want. We haven't got any, for me personally, by near what we need to get done. However, I'm a little bit calmer because I'm like, we've got our main target through the door. Then I do sort of go, okay, do you know what? I can appreciate, say we want a Rodrigo, or I don't personally want a Williams, but let's just throw Rodrigo out there as a name for argument's sake. I would be more willing, having us done that previous business, i.e. get a Gyökeres in the door, I'd be more open and accepting that maybe Rodrigo would go to the final days or weeks of the window, because I know it's a complex signing and we've got the striker in. However, what I won't have is if we've only just, say, confirmed the Zubamendi deal and he has his medical and we're sitting here halfway through July and we've only got Zubamendi in the door and Kepa Arrizabalaga through the door. That then is just way unacceptable for me. It's nowhere near good enough.
Yeah.
Nowhere near good enough. Because like I said, prices are going up. Opportunities for other clubs to come in and take the geezer. We don't know. Let's just say, for argument's sake, a Manchester United, who are linked, say, with a Gyökeres. Let's just keep on Gyökeres for a minute. Like a Chelsea, I know they're in the Champions League now. There's teams out there that would have a Gyökeres, maybe even a Liverpool. If Arsenal humming and hawing, let's just say, for argument's sake, Liverpool mid-June sell Nunes and sell Diaz. All of a sudden, they've got Gyökeres money. All of a sudden, they can just go, Victor, here, we'll see the signings that we're making. By the way, we want you. Here's your release clause done. How much do you want of money? Job done. Liverpool squad's completed for the next year or two. They've got some aging players. Blah, 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 blah. That's my biggest fear about scenarios like this. It's not just their fees rising up. It's a Barcelona coming in and going, yeah, do you know what? Lewandowski's looking a little bit old, isn't he? Vic Gyökeres is 27. Oh, that's a nice year. I can hear banging there. Oh, yeah. And what's his fee? Oh, well, Arsenal are fucking around again on around 60 and 70 million. There's his release clause. Come to us. Job done. We miss out on a player. And then we turn around and then go, oh, but don't worry, we've got Benjamin Sesko. And then Leipzig are like, oh, you are double desperate now, aren't you, Arsenal? Now it's 90 million. Yeah. And Arsenal, again, let themselves get into a situation where we could go, well, we just weren't available. There's so many pros to getting your business done early. And I appreciate what you're saying about getting the books in or whatever. If that's a fact, then that's fair enough. But I want to see at least by what we got on Friday. We got Friday the 4th, yeah? Friday the 4th of July. I want to see some
Yeah.
medicals and bids in by Friday the 4th of July. And then by Friday the 11th, I'll best be seeing medicals done,
That's
whether
not
it is
Zubimendi. You mean that,
or a striker.
yeah, you
I'm
mean that's
sorry.
not Zubimendi, that's someone that the actual priority
A
position.
striker or
Yeah,
or a winger.
winger.
If we haven't got one of them in by like I said, Friday. I
Yeah,
always
of
do a
course.
Friday call-in show, yeah,
Yeah.
and every week it goes up, and I set up at the same title, just change the date. Calm down. It's only the ... and I'll be doing the same thing again, just because everyone said, "Oh, it's only the 7th." Calm down. The 7th very quickly turns to the 14th.
Yeah. And
And
we
then
keep,
the 14th very quickly turns to the 20th. I'm not going to do math with you. Like
yeah,
you get the point I'm trying to
yeah,
make.
absolutely.
Very quickly changes, and this is my worry for
So
Arsenal Football Club.
look,
Like because
of course, okay,
go on,
maybe childish is a bit much, but my point is like the window has just officially opened, the proper window, right? So I just
yep.
think we're being a bit, yes, we should have that expectation. We should be ambitious, but we should also be realistic of the club that we are and how we move, right? That those two, it's like a mix of the two of what your personal ambitions are, historically what's happened with the club, and what you expect to happen, right? As well, I totally understand that. So look, as I said, for me, and I told you, right, in 2 weeks, if we haven't done anything, then I'm going to be the one who's yelling and screaming and
I'm
saying,
holding you to that, African Gooner. I'm going to bloody hold you to it, mate. I'm doing it.
As I said, like for me, it's just look. I think in due course, Zubimendi will come in. Then it'll be Kepa, and then I'm hoping that it'll be Sesko before preseason. If we don't get the striker in before preseason, huge red flags. And I've said this before. If we sign the right players by the end of the window, I've already given up on Arteta. Like it's not even I'm going to give the whole season. Like if we don't get the right players, then why even wait to see how the season's going to transpire? Because you know what's going to happen, right? So again, like, unfair, right? I'm telling you straight up, like I'm not even willing to give Arteta the season.
African Gooner, do you know what you need to do? On the 2nd week of July, come back on the show and give me a told you so if Arsenal are signing them players, and if not, I'm going to give you a told you so.
Absolutely. I think
just
the striker one, I'm not confident about. Obviously, the Zubimendi one we know we're going to get in the first week, and I think the Kepa one will be relatively easy. But I think in the next, like by the end of this week, we should already have a much clearer picture on what's going on. I mean, as soon as we make that first bid, then the intention will be very clear, and we'll know, okay, yeah, this is the guy we're going for. And I'm quite certain it's going to be a Ornstein Bomba on a Sesko bid. So, which I told you guys on DG stream as well.
I bloody hope so. Gianni's come in. Big up to you, Gianni, my friend. You know this. And he's saying, and I sort of agree with him as well. Sesko is a waste of time and money. Openda has outscored Sesko, even with a 15-goal fall off at Leipzig over 2 years. Waste of money. And there's also scope to say Marmoush outscored him in 5 months. What do you sort of say to this? Because I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, you seem to like Sesko. Do you like Sesko over Gyökeres? I'm sure you said.
No, I wanted
You actually did
Gyökeres.
prefer it, did you?
Oh yeah, so there's a difference.
Maybe I'm wrong there.
There's a difference between what I want and what I think is going to happen. I've just settled to the fact that it's going to be Sesko, and I honestly, when you've been deprived of a striker for so long, it's like, bro, like you said, just bring one in. Like, I don't care. Even though at this point, Watkins, just bring him in. Like that's how it feels, right? But then, in my opinion, based off what I'm seeing, the way things have transpired over the last 2 years. What Arteta looks like he wants, the system that we play, like it's very obvious it's going to be Sesko. Hence why I've just settled for the fact that it's going to be Sesko. That doesn't mean that I don't rate him. I do rate him. He's a good player. He could be really good. He looks up to Ibrahimovic. He looks like Ibrahimovic, and he could be at that level. It's going to take him some time, which is not what I wanted. I wanted someone like Gyökeres who's going to come in. He scored so many goals already. He's a proven finisher, and that's what we need. We need a proven finisher. But at the same time, we need someone who's going to be able to link up play, who's going to be able to have that chemistry with the team, and I don't think Gyökeres has that. And also, like Arteta has never been a fan of players that have spats with managers and clubs and stuff. Like what's happening with Gyökeres publicly, that is already a red flag to show us that some characteristics, whether it's his fault or not, of a player that Arteta probably is not going to get along with, right? Which is why we don't.
Kepa has the same characteristics, though, to be fair, and he's getting him. He's refused to come off a pitch.
Well, yeah, I guess Guimaraes might. I don't know if he has attitude problems. He's just I guess he's just an aggressive personality in general, both on the field and off the field. I'm not sure. I guess they say he's a nice person off the field, right? So look, you can always point out different examples like you have with Guimaraes. There's always going to be that one exception of a player that I guess Arteta wanted, but maybe has bad. But I mean, someone like Osimhen, who's been available for so long and not really, I mean, his wages are expensive, but his transfer fee is not expensive. We could have gotten him. We could have loaned him. Why didn't we? Because Arteta doesn't want to deal with that type of personality. Arteta wants players that he can control. We know that. That's why we have a young squad. He wants to mold them. That's how he is. Anyone that stands up to him, and you know what I mean? Like if you rise up to him, it's over for you. It's finished. You're out the door, right? And I think it's a good and a bad thing, right? Like if you can keep control and if you achieve the goals that you set out to as the dictator, then everyone follows you, everyone respects you, and you're our leader. Hoorah! Like all hail Arteta, and we believe and trust in you. But if you're not delivering the trophies like you haven't, then of course you're going to get questioned. Then of course you're going to lose some faith. And that's, I think, in my opinion, what's happening now. Okay, we trusted you, we backed you. We were in different. We were actually competing for a title when we haven't ever really competed for a title in the past 20 years, apart from that Leicester season. And I wouldn't even consider that us competing for a title compared to the last two, the 2 seasons previously. So and you and I talked about that. You didn't give me the half season this season, so the 2 seasons,
I'm not giving you that. There's no half season. I'm sorry, mate. Last season
right?
Liverpool got their noses in front last year, and they never looked back. And Arsenal never spent a day up top, and Arsenal, they were never really in it. We were 7 points behind for the first 3 quarters of the season, and then that only got worse. That's not a title race.
And the thing
Liverpool
on
had that sewn up.
Yeah, Gyökeres, Sesko, we don't know who's gonna bang. Let's we could bring in Gyökeres and he might not do well, or we could bring in Sesko and Gyökeres go somewhere else, as you said, and he does really well, and then we look at that and say, hey, why didn't we go get him? He was just the ready-made thing. So again, like as I said, like look, what's the point of arguing and stuff? Arteta's gonna make the decision that he's gonna make, and he's gonna have to live by it. That's how I see it. I could want this player, that player, but he's gonna get the player that he wants at the end of the day. And he's going to have to live by it. And at the end of the season, he better hopes that player is lifting a trophy with him so that he has something to stand for, right? Like on 2 legs.
See this, big up to Jamie Phillips Football Chats as well. I see you messaged me back on Twitter. He said you was going to DM me. That's all well and good, my friend. I will look out for that. Big up to Jamie. Go follow Jamie. If there's any Liverpool fans in here and you're not already, what's wrong with you? Go and support this geezo. He puts out some fantastic content, rather. And he's saying as well, and this is what I genuinely believe. I think you're absolutely right, Jay. If Arsenal, their summer is Zubimendi and Sesko and the Kepa or his bloggers, whatever. City and Liverpool are going to pull further away, and I could not agree more than you. I think if you was to assess the summer windows that Manchester City's and Liverpool's had, where they already are, what the managers that they've got, both of them now have managers proven to get over the line in the Premier League. Let's also not forget Slot got to a final, even though Newcastle, really, really done a number over him in that cup, in that final. They still got to another final. He's done more than Arteta's done in 5.5 years, in the space of a year. Getting to a final and then obviously winning the Premier League is frustrating. And that's the problem, Jamie. And that's the problem, Arsenal fans, Leo fucking Gooner. I think if this is going to be our signings and we don't get anything else, I'm just a little bit worried that they're going to pull away from us. And yet again, Arsenal are going to be left behind. And the problem as well as for me is, and like Jamie's again added on here, is a new manager. I reckon if Arsenal Football Club was to get a better manager or had have got a better manager in, and they signed, easier said than done, Victor Gyökeres, which I reckon is very, very feasible. Tried getting someone like a Rodrigo in, put in an 80-90 million pound bid, get the ball rolling and test Real Madrid dissolve. I'm sure there'd be a different football club once the money's on the table, and get an Eze in, and then you got me a manager that can manage it. If we had a Simeone in with them 3 signings, I'm going, yeah, Jamie, and your Liverpool, yeah, Manchester City, I'm ready to compete with you. You give me them signings of Arteta, I'm like, I personally think we do need a new manager. The frustrating thing is, Jamie, and you know it as well, mate. We're not getting one this summer. Not this summer window,
or maybe even next. There's a part of me that also thinks if we don't win anything next season, if the owners don't pull the plug, it's gonna get bad. And that's how I mean, if it goes the wrong way, I think that's probably what's gonna happen, right? Okay, the board will say, oh well, he made Champions League, so we'll give him another season, and the fans will just say, hey, no, that's it, that's enough, it's done, finished. And that's when all the toxicity, the rioting, the fighting between fans, etc., will happen. So I don't want that to happen, obviously, but I also again, being realistic and seeing previously how the club have moved. I don't think they'll sack him. It'll take a lot of fan pressure, I think, in my opinion, for the board to sack him, like it has with most managers. They don't sack the manager. They wait for the fans to just get so bad. They wait for it to get so bad where they just have to pull the plug. That's kind of how it went with Emery, right?
And Wenger.
And Wenger, at the end,
Yeah.
They're hounded out.
And that's a board thing. Before we wrap up, I'll just take a couple more questions. You can answer them as quickly and as whatever as you want to. Do you think Bert and Arteta are going to have conflict, or having rather conflict over transfers this summer?
Yes, and it's healthy. Yeah. You want difference of opinions. You don't want Berta and Arteta to be thinking the same, which is why this is good, right? Berta saying, "Hey, no, I think it's Gyökeres." Arteta saying, "No, I think it's Sesko," and they got to figure it out together, right? They're a team at the end of the day that want us to be successful, so they got to work together to get the best possible outcome. And some will need to make sacrifices for the other. You know what I mean? Like Arteta, it's a give and take. Like Arteta will have to sacrifice sometimes and say, "Look, I'm going to trust you," right? Like you can't always just be Arteta, the one that is making the choices. I don't know what that dynamic looks like, right? But a healthy one is one where they're challenging each other and they're both, giving and taking.
Yeah, it's frustrating as well. And here's another good point. AJ, big up to you, my friend. Lookman actually has a £47 million buyout clause. If we can't get Rodrigo, what do you reckon on Lookman? Would you have him in the squad?
Oh, yeah.
As a second,
absolutely.
Third option,
so, I mean, he's terrible at penalties, so we'll definitely not put him on penalties. But he's a good player, man. Again, my frustration is I really thought I thought Trossard was going to be sold this summer. It looks like he isn't. We're giving him a pay rise, not on a new contract, but just on the current one to reflect his performance.
Yeah.
And so that makes me I don't see the wing. I don't know. I'm struggling right now to picture how we get this winger in because we're not getting any out. And Jesus is coming back, and Martinelli and Nwaneri and Dauman can even play right wing. And so that's my worry. That's why I would go just get Xavi Simons or Eze, right? Like Xavi Simons can play that position. He can play 10, left 8, he can play left wing, right? That's 3 positions he can play. And he's solid, right? But we should have gotten him 4 years ago. Again, like you said, we're too late. We dilly that, and then someone else gets him, and then we still want all these players, and then we have to pay 2-3 times the price. Isaac, Kudus, Guimaraes. I mean, we could go on and on, right? Yeah, I know. I get the frustration. Look,
last one as well. So do you reckon Arteta will go back to the 22-23 tactics? And obviously, Kieran means attacking. Going out and obviously some mix of that. I know he's not going to go just all attacking and neglect the defense. He's not going to do that. But is he going to try and find a hybrid, a bit of a balance between the two? Can you see that this summer?
Yeah. I think my perspective, Aaron, is that Zubimendi is going to change this team. That's why we were bringing him in. So we struggle to move the ball. We're too slow. We struggle to move the ball fast. We use our center backs. We use Declan Rice to pass to try to move the ball. And by the time we get there, they've already had the low block. They're already in position, and then we struggle to break them down, right? And then we just go past the Saka, past the Martinelli, cross from the box to nobody, and then we just keep doing that, and then that's why we can't score, right? I mean, that's very clear and obvious. If you play football, you know what's happening. So, in my opinion, I think he fixes that. That's the whole point. Zubimendi fixes that. He can ping it left, right. He can turn when he receives the ball, something that Rice struggles with, and then you can put Rice further up, and you get Zubimendi to dictate the tempo. Increase the speed, which means our counterattack and our opportunities for attackers to be isolated, one-on-one, two-on-one, or one-on-two with the defenders are much. We see it much more frequently, which gives us a higher chance of scoring goals, right? At least that's the logic that I have, and that's why I think we're. I think people don't realize that Zubimendi is not a flashy signing, but he's actually going to be an important signing for us because he's going to change the way that we play in terms of the dictating the tempo, how fast we play, and he's very accurate in pinging balls. And Aaron, I saw this stat about Thomas Partey about every single season and his passes in the final third and how it's decreased massively. And he's one of the only. He's one of the only guys in our team who can make a line breaking pass, right? And Zubimendi can do that as well. So I'm hoping that some of those passes in behind, we don't play in behind. And this is something even with Aubameyang, we didn't play to Aubameyang's strengths. And we pushed him on the left wing. And, even Martinelli, he's not a left wing. He's not a touchline left winger, man. He wants to be coming inside. That's why he did so well with Jesus. And that's why Xhaka was such a great player and combination for him, right? So I think it's going to improve us.
Yeah. No. But yeah, I could agree with that. And like
You
I
just gotta
said,
get someone who's gonna finish like all those chances, like half field chances, or we can only create one chance in one game. Kai Havertz can't score that. Unfortunately, he's not the guy, and Jesus isn't the guy either. And Martinelli
Yeah.
will shoot it on target, but the keeper will save it, like we saw with Donnarumma and Trossard as well. Similar. Saka's the only one, so we need another one. And is Sesko the guy? Maybe, maybe not. Is Gyökeres the guy? Maybe, maybe not. But whatever, as I said, Arteta chooses, he has to live by.
Like I said, I do trust Gyökeres to put the ball in there, and that's why I reckon if Arsenal, even under Mikel Arteta, and I'm happy to put this out there, I will be more confident of at least maybe competing or maybe possibly winning a cup. If we have let's just say for argument's sake, we get a Rodrigo in and we do get a Gyökeres in, that whole attacking line transforms for me, obviously because of the players that are in there. But let's just get that right. But more so, we've not got a player that can be clinical in front of goal in terms of Kai Havertz and Gabriel Jesus. They waste way too many chances. We've seen that over numerous seasons now. But also in terms of Gabriel Martinelli, like you mentioned, whilst I do like him, he's fallen off of it. And I think if Martinelli gets into a position where he can cut it back or cross the ball in, I'm not very confident it's going to reach his man. Whereas if you put me a Rodrigo in there, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, now we're getting a player in there who can make better decisions in the final third. He can make a better cross in there. He can make a more accurate cutback. And I'm looking at that attacking line and I'm thinking, if we do get a player on that left-hand side that can accurately find their man, and then all of a sudden you've got a striker that he finds that was also highly deadly in front of goal like a Gyökeres is, Arsenal's chances wasted, and them 14 draws that we got, and the 22 less goals that we scored from last year, that changes a whole season. You change 14 of them, you turn 9 of them into wins, and I know that's easier said than done. But we only had 5 draws the season before, or maybe 6. Sorry, there or thereabouts. Either way, that's an 8 to 10 draw swing just on that one season. All of a sudden, you're getting 10, 15 more extra points. All of a sudden, you're winning the league. And that's what Arsenal need to be doing. They need to score more goals. They need to be a bit more accurate. And Martinelli, most of the time, more than not, doesn't make the right decision in the final third. And even when he does, we haven't got a striker that makes the right decision in front of goal.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, you almost need 2 miracles to happen for us to score a goal. And now you had a Gyökeres in there who's deadly in front of goal, and you had a winger there who can find his man. All of a sudden, your chances of putting the ball in the back of the net go astronomically up. Hence, do the draws turn into wins? Hence, do the goals increase the likelihood of winning games? That's my take on it. But
and also that's why, Aaron, that's why I don't look at the striker signing in isolation, because it also matters who we get as left wing. If we get Sesko, but then we get Rodrigo, that changes the perspective on that, right? That's why I don't look at it just the left winger, just the striker. Like it's a combination of the two. Like I won't judge those. I'm judging those together. I'm not judging them. Yeah, we need someone on the same level. It's very hard. I mean, Saka is one of a kind, but yes, we need someone who's as good as Saka on the left wing. That's the problem. And then Rodrigo, I think, look, he just needs to realize he's not going to ever play ahead of Vinicius. He's always going to be kind of like the Sanchez at Barcelona, right? He just needs to come to a club where he's going to be the main man, and that's where he becomes it.
That's the right analogy. The Sanchez.
Jack Grealish. Look at Jack Grealish at Aston Villa, a main man, superstar, and goes to Man City. Maybe the money and everything else changes, but also I don't think he plays enough, and he lost the love for football, in my opinion. Like when he was at Aston Villa, he was just another player, right? Because that's Sanchez. Look at Sanchez when he was with us; he was the main guy. The team trusts him, and he's given that responsibility to do things. And I think Rodrigo will be that guy. The other thing, Aaron, is Martinelli is one of my favorite players. I protect him a lot, and I think part of it is Arteta hasn't improved him. Like we have to be fair as well. Arteta is not improving these attackers. Arteta does not have a good record with any attackers in our team. Look at Laka, look at Oba, there's so many examples. Pepe even he didn't use them properly. Fabio Vieira, Smith Rowe. I mean, like a lot of these attacking players has been really, really poor, right? So there's part of me that also says that something needs to happen internally where we're fixing things. Why doesn't Odegaard shoot more?
Change the manager.
Well, that has to go down to the manager or the management team or the coaching team that should be helping us, improving us. Like in training, right? Like we know we can only score from corners. In training, we should be working on creating other types of chances, right? Like I don't understand why we don't do that. That's some of my frustration is like, okay, Odegaard, Like, why doesn't he practice free kicks in training? Why isn't he practicing to shoot more in training? Because if you're doing that in training, you're definitely going to do that in game. And I don't think we do that, and we focus enough on individual stuff in training, in my opinion. I think we just do group work. Yes, maybe players stay after and they take free kicks and they do these drills by themselves, but I don't know. Obviously, we don't see everything, but from what I see on the field, I don't think there's enough improvement or enough focus on fixing certain aspects of our game that we can fix internally without going out in the market and getting that player who maybe can fix that for us. And that will make us and elevate us into a better team that wins. As you said, Aaron, like sometimes it's just that one goal. If we get that next 2 goals, then that turns from, 3 points to 1 point, because we always, we struggle, we sit back, we wait for the team to come attack us, and then they end up scoring and the game state changes, and then we struggle to score again, and then we drop points.
Yeah, no, thanks. I agree with you, and obviously as well, man. Thank you very much for giving me your time. We'll wrap it up. We're over the hour mark and all of that. I've enjoyed having you on, my friend. We don't always agree on certain bits, but you know what I do like is it's like when we're both making points that we don't agree with. I think it's good that you go, oh yeah, I can see where you're coming from, and then do you know what I mean? It's not just
absolutely.
I believe like this, you believe like this. Let's just butt each other. Do you know what I mean? It's look, I think you've made some very good points, some good takes on certain bits, and I've enjoyed having you on, my friend. Where can people find you?
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. It's been a pleasure to be
Good,
here
man.
as well, and looking to forward to more shows. I think
Yeah.
I'm a passionate Arsenal fan, as you know, probably one of the craziest Arsenal fans. Dedicate my whole life to this club, never missed a single game, and as you said, we want this club to win. And I think it's always great to talk with different people from different cultures, right? Different mindsets, different exposures, right? To the football, to tactics, to different things, to just the world in general, and come together and talk about something you're so passionate about, and be respectful in our views, and kind of, I shared my opinion, I gave you my reasons why, you gave me yours, and we kind of try to find a middle ground to say, okay, yeah, this is where we are, right?
Even if you don't end up agreeing, at least I can see what angle you're coming from.
Absolutely.
That's what it is. And Angus puts it in there nicely. Oh, sorry, not that comment. Healthier debate. I, believe it or not, I have got it in my locker to go back, but that's not why I've came on YouTube to do. And that's not why I should come on so we can have a screaming match. That's not why I was on the show. I quite liked it on the DG thing, where I just appreciate that some of the things we can agree on, some of the things we may never agree on, and all that. But if we can just get our points out and like I said just a second ago, and then go, yeah, okay, yeah, cool. You know what? Do you know what? The African Gooner, I don't quite agree with that, but I know what angle you're coming from. Like you said about the the July thing. I'm not 100, but I can get that. I can't disprove it. I get that might be a thing. I'll wait and see, and then we'll have another future chat.
And it's the same on my side, by the way. As I said, I'm frustrated. I want, but I'm waiting to see. And if it doesn't, then I change. It's all about pivoting as well. Just because you have an opinion doesn't mean you everyone yells at it out, by the way. Just because you have an opinion doesn't mean that, you know what I mean. You got to stick to it. Like, you can want a manager in, and then you can form and you formulate your opinion, and be willing to be flexible in changing your opinion as life happens, right? Like things change, right? And you can have different perspectives. But you can find me on Twitter at the African Gooner. I might be starting my YouTube channel soon as well. So look out for that.
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah. But what's that in sort of the pipe work? You still humming and hawing? Or?
Well, to be honest, I do all the work anyway, so I should be doing it. I just need to make a call on it. I think I already created the channel, just haven't posted anything on it.
Oh, nice. Well, I've just posted your X link in there for anyone that wants to jump over and give you a follow. Please do that. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's helpful as well, because obviously my chat listened to a certain opinion. So at least whether they had a pre-opinion of you.
I was getting.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? That's why it's good to come on certain different shows with different opinions, because they can at least get to see someone like and go, oh, do you know what? I might not agree with him totally, but I kind of appreciate that he's don't talk absolute shit, and you don't talk shit. You may have different opinions, but you don't. And I like that, and that's why I'm looking.
Aaron, I also think people who play the game see the game very differently than people who just sit on the couch and watch the game. That's my personal opinion as a player who's played and wanted to play for Arsenal, and that was my dream growing up as a kid, right? So I also played at a certain level, and therefore I think when you play and you see certain things, like when you watch and you see a player do something, how hard it is to do that because you've actually tried to do it
Yeah.
yourself instead of just seeing someone try to do it on TV. And therefore you have a different opinion and you respect the game and respect players in different ways, right? And by the way, on the captaincy stuff, I don't think anything is going to change. And we're not selling Odegaard for sure.
Yeah. Well, both of them things disappoint me greatly, but thank you very much, thank you very much for jumping on the chat as well. Fantastic. I will be back on my thing later at 9:30 with DJB, with Shane Gooner, and with Normski. So people don't forget to check into that. Again, thank you to African Gooner for giving me your time. Greatly appreciated. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Looking forward to the next one. And other than that, yeah, have a good one, everyone. Take